We have in the studio here in Lagos, Kate Pam, who is a member of Plateau Speaks, a peace advocacy group. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Also here is Simon Markan, Dr. Simon Markan, former member of the House of Representatives and a resident of Jos. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Welcome.
Joining us from our Abuja studio is Mohammed Tuka, legal advisor to Mieti Allah. Thank you for coming.
Thank you and good morning.
We also tried to reach out to the Plateau State government. We had a conversation with the special advisor to the governor on media, Mr. Emmanuel Nanley, who said he'll get back to us, but we still haven't heard from him. We hope that we'll hear from him in the course of the program today. Also, we tried to reach out to a representative of the Special Task Force, and, well, they told us they'll get back as well. We still haven't gotten back to us. But we'll still look at what the situation is like. Let me begin with Mr. Markan.
Yes.
Tell us what the situation is like on the plateau.
Thank you. The situation in the plateau now is not good. It used to be. From your introduction, you described Plateau as the heaven of Nigeria, but I don't see that feasible at the moment. Presently, in Plateau State, especially the northern part of Plateau, that is Plateau North Senatorial District, there are no-go areas, even for the citizens of the state. Particularly in Jos North, we have places that a non-Muslim or a non-Christian cannot venture into such places.
No, which area is Plateau North? Is it that the Barking-Ladi area?
Yeah, that is Jos North, Jos South, Barking-Ladi, Riom, Bassa, and Jos East. You know, but I'm looking at Jos North in particular. That's the capital of Plateau. Mm-hmm. There are places that are considered no-go areas. You know, you don't just go there, you don't just move there because for fear of being attacked, for fear of being molested by other residents of those particular areas. Mm-hmm. And coming to Barking-Ladi and Riom, it is the same thing. You know, the farmers cannot go to their farm. People cannot even walk on the road. As you just move out of your house, the tendency is that somebody will just shoot you or kill you. And this is a pathetic situation at the moment on the plateau. Movement is restricted. The school children in those particular places, Barking-Ladi and Riom in particular, cannot go to school. Schools have grounded. Even the medical care is no longer there because most of the health centers have been destroyed. The health workers have left their places. We have over 30-something villages completely razed down. No single person, no single house, no single, activity taking place in such places. So it is not a good thing at all. It's a very pathetic issue.
Okay, Kate, I did my National Youth Service in Jos. That's the former Benue Plateau State. And like Nyota described when he was opening this section, it was such a peaceful place. Absolutely. Birom and Gas, all of them lived happily together. So how and when did all this start? That even children cannot go to school, that everything has ground to a halt, almost in some parts.
From my research and to the best of my knowledge, I think that the political system I would hold responsible for this. Because everything, if you look at the reports from the commissions of inquiry that were set up in the past, all the reports, you have the age-old crisis of indigenship and land ownership, who owns Jos, who were the earlier settlers and all that. Now, to the typical indigene or the aboriginals, they said, okay, we were here, which from my geography that I learned in secondary school, it says Birom people were one of the earliest settlers in West Africa. And so the mindset of the average Birom man is that we were here, we welcomed you with open arms. And like Nyota rightly said, Plateau State is a microcosm of Nigeria. We have the Robos, the Yorubas, the Igbos who have been living there since the 1800s. The Robos were there since 1934. So that predates even our colonial masters. But so they say, okay, we welcome everybody in. And so they're feeling that their heritage is being threatened. But then you have the Hausas and the Fulani saying, we've been here for ages as well. And so if we cannot even go back to where we came from, because this is where we know. This is where we know.
Yeah.
And that is also a valid argument. That is also understandable. But you see, because of politics, and so the political system has weakened our institutions. And so has started to preach, just to get positions, people have started to polarize other people along religious and ethnic lines. And so because of that, as the polarization started to widen, animosity started to come in. And so that gave rise to a lot of these crises that have happened. But let's set the crisis aside, because that happened since 2001 and all that. Let's focus on what is happening now. Because as it is now, there is no crisis. There is just a deliberate attempt, which analysts have analyzed to be a genocide, or what you would call ethnic cleansing. Because if you look at what is happening, during the crisis started at just north. But now, Barkin-Ladi, Riom, and those were very peaceful areas. I grew up with, my mother had a Fulani man who was taking care of our cattle. And he would come to our house every so often once he came around, and he would bring furad and nono to us. We would eat together. He would sleep in our house, and we would give him food stuff or whatever. He always went away with a chicken. That was the culture. That was how we lived. But you see, our children have a different story to tell. That's not what is happening. That is because of politics. Oh, we must have this position. We must have that position. And so it's no longer about indigenization. So people are going on the streets and they just get ambushed and they get killed. Whole villages have been wiped out. We have pictures of 3-month-old babies. Women are raped. As I speak to you now, I cannot even begin to count women that I have personally spoken to who have escaped being raped. There are women who have been raped and killed. My cousins were killed 2 weeks ago. In one family, there are 3 generations of widows. The mother is a widow, the older sister is a widow, the wife is a widow. And so these people were not fighting. They were killed on their farms. They were killed as they were going on about their daily endeavors. And so what we are talking about here now is beyond ethnic crisis, it's beyond religion. We are talking about humanity. We are talking about our national unity, as you have rightly pointed out, yes, and the right to live.
You mentioned ethnic cleansing.
Yes.
And genocide.
Yes.
Which people are the ones being victimized?
Well, let's look at the villages, first of all, because in fairness, you cannot say, because of the polarization, there are settlements, okay? And when I was speaking with one of our brothers who is a Muslim who is from Barkin-Ladi, and from what he said even in those settlements, if the Fulanis are upset and they attack a village, Lord help you if you're a Muslim living among Christians, you are not spared. And that is what led to the conclusion of it being a genocide. And thank God the Miyeti Allah person whose interview I watched on AIT, he did not refute that. It was that. And so we're calling and saying, let's call a spade a spade. Let's deal with it as it is so that we can move on, because we need peace in Plateau State.
Okay, let's see if we can bring in Mr. Tukur from our Abuja studio. Mr. Tukur, you've heard what's been said so far. What is your take on the situation on the Plateau?
First of all, I think I have listened to what both speakers have said, and I will just say it is most unfortunate what is happening in Plateau State currently. I have stated it and I have restated it. From 2001, I have been tracking the situation in Plateau State. I participated in the Justice Nikitobi Commission of Inquiry that looked at the crisis in Plateau State. I also interacted with the Solomon Law Peace Committee, and I think there was another committee under Justice Opene, I think so. So I have been tracking the situation, and I have visited most of the areas that they have mentioned now. About 4 months ago, I was in Riom, I was in Barkin Ladi, not only in the major towns, but also in the rural communities and the remote areas. What is happening currently in Plateau State is a conflict matrix. You cannot just draw a clear line. The question of land that had been mentioned by one of the speakers, the question of indigeneity, the question of religion, the question of ethnicity, the question of access to areas. But I think for whatever it is, we should just acknowledge that the violence is cross-cutting, not one single ethnic group can claim that it has lost or it has had victims alone. The Birongs had victims, the Fulanis had victims, the Hausas had victims, ordinary travelers on the road were also victims, people who were just passers-by had also been victims. So there's just allegations against allegations. In fact, even the security agencies are not spared. Last week, the interview that Mrs. Pam, or I don't know if she's a miss, mentioned, one of the speaker there was accusing the STF that they are not responding. In fact, if you go, some people also within the Muslim or Fulani or Hausa will also say the same allegation. So it is very, very unfortunate. And I think Ms. Palmer, I agree with what she said. We have looked at this violence. It has been internecine for almost like 14 years today. So what is the way forward? I think we should look at that. We have had victims, we have had widows, lives have been lost, livelihood has been lost, crops cannot be farmed, animals cannot be herded. In fact, like she is saying, last week there was a young boy who was supposed to resume at the Nigerian law school very recently. He just happened to venture out, and then he was also killed. So I don't want to look at it from the perspective of, an indigent getting killed, or a non-indigent getting killed, or a Fulani man getting killed, or a non-Fulani man getting killed. I want to look at it from the perspective of, these are human beings we have, these are Nigerians, and what should we do to get out of this situation? For 14 years, we have had this situation. What are the new initiatives do we put in place? What are new approaches do we put in place? Should we continue like this? I think that is what I want to see. We should focus on what is happening. Like I say, we have always condemned it. It has been unfortunate. I have tracked it. Almost all the commissions of inquiry that looked at the Plateau crisis, I have participated, both as a member of Meetiala, both as a lawyer.